Okay, so imagine this. A solid gold cube,
Wow.
23 meters tall.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's about the size of a 7-story building.
I can't even picture that.
Right. It's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
But that's how much gold exists in the entire world.
All the gold in the world.
All the gold in the world.
Wow.
And right now, it feels like everyone's racing to get their hands on some of it.
Yeah, you've definitely been seeing those gold prices climbing.
You've been keeping an eye on those prices, too, right?
Absolutely.
And you want to understand what's fueling this frenzy.
What's going on?
Well, buckle up, because we're going deep
Okay.
into this modern-day gold rush,
Right?
exploring history, economics,
The whole shebang.
and maybe even a dash of geopolitics along the way.
I love it when things get geopolitical.
Me too, me too.
So this is more than just the usual market ups and downs.
Yeah, that's what I'm really curious about.
This feels different.
There are some serious shifts happening globally that are pushing gold back into the spotlight.
Like, what kinds of shifts are we talking about?
Well, we're going to break down this YouTube video from Think School that I found.
Oh, Think School. Yeah, I've seen their videos.
That breaks down this gold rush.
Okay.
They've got all the charts, historical parallels.
Charts are my favorite.
Oh, they're great.
Love a good chart.
They really help you understand these things, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay, I'm ready to be surprised.
prepare to be surprised.
Okay.
Because we're going to uncover some unexpected facts.
Okay.
Like just how much gold is tucked away in India.
Oh, yeah. How much?
Spoiler alert, a staggering amount.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to discuss why some countries are shifting away from the US dollar in favor of gold, even without a war looming.
Interesting.
So I guess that brings us to the first question.
Yeah?
How did the US dollar even become the go-to currency in the first place?
Yeah. And why is that dominance being challenged now?
Let's rewind the clock way back,
Okay.
back to the 1940s.
All right.
The Think School video paints this really vivid picture. Okay.
Of the world post-World War II.
I'm imagining it.
You know, the U.S. had really stepped up as a major supplier during the war.
Right.
And ultimately, they ended up with a mind-blowing 75% of the world's gold reserves.
75%.
45%.
That's wild.
I know.
I mean, think about it. Europe was devastated.
Yeah.
Huge stretches of Asia
They were really...
reeling from the war.
And the U.S.
Relatively unscathed, right?
Yeah.
Emerged as this global economic powerhouse.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so that set the stage then.
This unique position set the stage for what we know now as
The Bretton Woods Agreement.
the Bretton Woods Agreement.
Pivotal moment in history.
This is a pivotal moment when the U.S. dollar became the world's reserve currency, backed by gold.
Backed by gold.
Yeah, it was like a golden handshake,
Right.
assuring everyone that the dollar was as good as gold itself.
It had that trust factor.
It had everybody's trust.
Yeah,
And this really smoothed out global trade.
because everybody trusted the dollar.
Yeah, everyone was on the same page.
I like this analogy. Oh, yeah.
Like the U.S. dollar was a gold certificate for the world,
Yeah.
bringing stability and confidence to international transactions.
Yeah, and much needed stability after the war.
Exactly.
But as with any good story, there's a twist.
Oh, there's always a twist.
Right. So by the 1970s,
Oh.
the U.S. found itself in a tight spot.
Uh-oh.
They couldn't keep up with the demand to exchange dollars for gold.
Oh, so everybody wanted their gold.
They wanted their gold.
What did they do?
And it forced them to abandon the gold standard.
Oh, that was a bold move.
It was a gamble, but the U.S. had another card up its sleeve.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Oil.
Oil. Ah,
The U.S. dollar intertwined itself with the oil trade.
clever.
You needed dollars to buy oil,
Smart.
which cemented the dollar's reign as the global currency king.
The king is back.
The king is back, but fast forward to today,
Yeah,
and those cracks in the system are becoming more apparent.
we're seeing those cracks.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the fact that the U.S. has been printing money,
Oh, yeah.
especially in recent years,
Especially recently.
which dilutes the dollar's value.
It makes it worth less.
It makes other countries nervous.
Understandably nervous, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because if they're holding all these dollars.
And then there's that elephant in the room.
Oh, the elephant in
The
the
freezing of Russian assets after the Ukraine invasion.
Right, that sent shockwaves across the globe.
Totally.
Other countries are looking at the U.S. now like,
Uh-oh, could we be next?
yeah, could we be next?
Wow, so this strategic use of the dollar as a political tool
Right.
has chipped away at the trust
Yeah.
in its reliability as a stable reserve currency.
So, where does that leave us?
Enter gold.
Gold starts to glimmer
Gold is looking good right about now.
as an appealing alternative.
Yeah, so why is gold having this moment?
It feels like a blast from the past.
Right.
Like we're going back in time.
I mean, gold has those inherent qualities
Yeah.
that make it a safe haven.
Especially when the world feels shaky.
When things are a little uncertain,
Exactly.
gold is a finite resource.
Yeah, you can't just print more of it out of thin air.
Unlike the dollar.
Unlike the dollar.
You know, going back to that massive gold cube we talked about,
Yeah.
that limited supply is what makes gold so alluring.
It makes it special.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that play out on the world stage right now.
I mean, the conflict in Ukraine, for example.
Yeah. Rattled nerves across the globe.
Yeah, especially in China.
Oh. Oh, yeah. China's been on a gold buying spree.
Big time.
Accumulating vast quantities.
I feel like they're thinking.
What are they thinking?
If the U.S. can freeze assets on a whim,
Yeah.
and the dollar's wobbling.
We need to secure our wealth in something tangible.
Yeah, something real.
Something enduring.
Something with a history.
Yeah, it's not just nations taking this approach either.
No.
Imagine your hard-earned savings slowly shrinking
Oh, no.
because of inflation.
Oh, that's scary.
Gold offers a way to protect your wealth from that erosion.
That's a good point. And then you have India,
Yeah, don't forget India.
where gold is woven into the culture.
Yeah, it's practically a way of life.
As their economy grows,
Yeah,
their appetite for gold just keeps increasing,
it intensifies.
which drives up prices even more.
Exactly.
And China's got its own issues, too.
Oh, yeah, what are they facing?
A real estate crisis, a sluggish stock market.
So where are they funneling their resources?
Gold.
Gold.
Okay, so it's geopolitics,
Uh-huh.
economic uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
cultural traditions.
It's a potent cocktail,
It really is.
fueling this gold rush.
But what about the stock market?
Yeah, where does gold fit into that equation?
Because that's another piece of the puzzle.
It is.
Gold often has what we call
What do you call it?
a negative correlation with the stock market.
Negative correlation. So
Yeah.
they move in opposite directions.
Exactly.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It does. But when the stock market takes a tumble,
Yeah.
gold tends to rise, and vice versa, which makes gold a strategic hedge against economic turbulence.
So if I'm a little worried about a potential recession
Yeah.
or a stock market downturn,
Having some gold in your portfolio could be a safety net.
that's the basic idea.
It's all about diversifying and managing risk.
But wait a minute. Didn't gold dip during the 2008 financial crisis?
It did dip initially, but it rebounded much faster than the stock market.
Oh.
And in the long run, it held on to its value.
Right, because we're playing the long game here,
Exactly.
not chasing quick wins.
Not at all.
Do you have some charts that might illustrate this?
Let me pull those up.
Charts are the best.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah.
All right, take a look.
Whoa, those really paint a clear picture.
It shows you how gold stayed stable during past recessions,
Yeah.
while the stock market was on a roller coaster.
A wild ride.
The point is,
Yeah.
it's not about timing the market perfectly.
Right.
It's about having a strategy to safeguard your wealth during those volatile periods.
That's a really insightful way to look at it.
So I think now we need to address the big question.
The question on everyone's mind.
Should you invest in gold?
Should we all jump on this gold bandwagon?
Think School recommends a cautious approach.
Cautious.
Don't get swept up in the hype.
That sounds like good advice.
It's not a magical path to riches.
No.
It's just one element of a diversified portfolio.
Not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Definitely not.
So gold is more about safeguarding your wealth.
Yeah.
When economic storms are brewing.
Exactly.
It's a way to weather the storm.
Yeah, potentially see growth over time.
But it shouldn't be your only investment.
Right.
This all makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that's been niggling at me.
What's that?
The video doesn't really delve into the ethical side of things.
Oh, that's an excellent point.
That's it.
We need to talk about responsible investing.
Yeah.
And that's something we'll dive into more in part 2.
Okay, I can't wait.
Me neither.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Totally.
Gold can be a safe haven for investors.
Uh-huh.
But the process of getting it out of the ground
Oh, yeah.
often comes with a steep environmental and social costs.
For sure, gold mining can contribute to a lot of problems.
Like what kinds of problem?
Deforestation,
Yeah.
water pollution, displacement of entire communities.
It's a big impact.
It is, and we can't forget about the miners themselves.
Right, the working conditions.
Often really hazardous.
Especially in regions with less strict regulations.
Absolutely.
It's like this hidden price tag.
Yeah.
We're focused on the shiny gold bar.
The beautiful jewelry.
Right, but we don't see the trail of consequences.
The true cost.
That brings up a big question.
What's that?
How do we balance our desire for financial security
Right?
with ethical and sustainable practices in the gold industry?
That's the million-dollar question.
It feels like a tangled web.
It is a tricky situation.
Where do we even begin to untangle it?
Well, for starters, consumers can become more aware of where their gold comes from.
So, like being more conscious consumers,
Exactly.
what should we be looking for?
Look for certifications like Fairmind or Fair Trade Gold.
Those sound familiar.
Yeah, they promote responsible mining practices.
So we have power as consumers
We do,
to influence the industry
through our choices.
by choosing ethically sourced gold.
Exactly.
We can actually make a difference.
It's about aligning your values with your purchases.
Yeah, I like that.
And it applies to investors, too.
Oh, how so?
Support companies that are transparent about their gold sourcing
So doing your research.
and that are committed to sustainability.
Yeah, making sure they're actually walking the walks.
Exactly.
But what about the bigger picture?
What do you mean?
Like some countries rely heavily on gold mining
Yeah.
for their economy,
Right.
even if it comes at a high environmental or social cost.
That's a tricky one.
It is. How do we address that?
It's not about shutting down all mines immediately.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
We need to find solutions.
Solutions that balance economic needs
Yes, with the need to protect the environment.
and the people.
Of course.
So maybe supporting initiatives that create different jobs,
Yeah. Alternative livelihoods?
or investing in technology that makes mining less damaging.
Those are good steps in the right direction.
And obviously government regulations are key too.
Definitely. To set standards and ensure ethical practices.
This is a lot to think about.
It is.
It's not a simple decision.
Buying gold? No, it's not.
There are a lot of factors to weigh.
And that's why we do these deep dives.
Yeah.
Not to give easy answers.
But to empower listeners with the knowledge.
To make informed choices.
Right, to make their own decisions.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
The video mentioned central banks buying up gold.
Yeah, why are they doing that?
Aren't they supposed to be managing currencies?
Not hoarding precious metals.
Yeah.
Well, it's more nuanced than it seems.
Okay, how so?
Central banks hold gold as part of their foreign exchange reserves. It helps them diversify their holdings.
And mitigate risk.
Yeah, especially when currencies are fluctuating.
So it's like a safety net,
A safety net for entire countries.
just like for individual investors.
And lately, we've seen a big surge in central banks buying gold.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, it's partly because of those geopolitical tensions we talked about.
Right.
And partly because of concerns about the long-term stability of the U.S. dollar.
So even governments are diversifying
Yeah, moving away from sole reliance on the dollar.
and incorporating gold into their portfolios.
Which makes sense if you're worried about the dollar.
But if central banks are buying so much gold,
Yeah,
doesn't that push the price up even higher,
that's a good point.
making it harder for everyday people to invest?
Exactly. It's like they're squeezing us out.
Well, the demand from central banks definitely plays a role
Yeah,
in the rising price.
but it's not the only factor.
We can't forget about China and India
Their demand is huge,
and all the investors looking for a safe haven,
right? It's this complex mix of forces.
driving the price up.
And that's why it's important to understand the
Right.
difference between short-term price swings
Yeah.
and long-term trends.
Because gold is a cyclical asset.
Meaning,
Its price goes up and down over time.
naturally.
Trying to time the market perfectly is almost impossible.
So it's not about predicting the peaks and valleys.
Right.
It's about understanding those fundamental drivers of demand.
And making smart decisions.
Decisions aligned with your long-term goals.
Exactly.
There's one more piece of the puzzle I'm still thinking about.
What's that?
If gold is finite
Uh-huh.
and everyone's trying to buy it,
Are we going to run out eventually?
will we exhaust the supply?
That's a great question.
And it leads to this debate about sustainability.
Are we back to ethics?
Not exactly.
Okay.
This is about the idea of peak gold.
Peak gold.
Some experts believe we've already hit peak gold production,
What does that mean?
meaning the amount of gold mined each year will start to decline.
So there's a limit to how much we can extract.
That's the theory.
Wow, that's big.
It could have a major impact on gold
As an investment.
and as a store of value.
This keeps getting more and more interesting.
It really does.
This is why we need to consider all the angles.
The financial, ecological, geopolitical.
It's all connected.
Wow, what an eye-opening deep dive.
It's been a journey.
From the history of the U.S. dollar
To the ethics of gold mining.
to the concept of peak gold.
Mind-boggling.
It is.
We've just scratched the surface.
I feel like we have.
There's so much more to explore.
But we've given our listeners plenty to think about.
We've equipped them to navigate this world of gold.
It's a complex world.
And a captivating one.
We've unearthed some real golden nuggets of information, haven't we?
We've covered a lot of ground, that's for sure.
So let's do a quick recap.
Okay.
This gold rush that we're seeing.
It's not just one thing driving it right.
No, it's a perfect storm of factors.
A confluence.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready.
You've got the instability of the U.S. dollar, simmering geopolitical tensions that we talked about, and that persistent demand.
Especially from those powerhouses like China and India.
Yeah, they just can't get enough.
And there's also the psychology of gold.
Oh, yeah, the psychology.
Gold has this enduring allure.
It's almost mythical, isn't it?
It really is.
It goes beyond just the economic cycles.
It represents wealth.
Security.
Power.
Yeah, it's woven into human history.
It's like holding a tangible piece of history.
It is. It's like a connection to ancient civilizations.
Empire.
That emotional connection to gold.
It's powerful.
Yeah, you can't just dismiss it.
Definitely not.
But as we discussed, there's that flip side.
The environmental and social costs.
We can't ignore that.
Definitely not.
So as consumers, we have to think about the ethical side.
Absolutely.
It's about making responsible decisions, considering the impact of our choices.
It all comes back to that question you asked.
Yeah, about the ethical considerations surrounding gold.
Such a complex issue.
It really is. There's no easy answer.
Nope.
But it's a conversation we need to be having.
Especially as we navigate this world of gold.
So for our listeners who want to explore further,
we've got links to the Think School video.
And some further reading.
All in the show notes.
This deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
We've gone from the history of the dollar
to gold mining
to the concept of peak gold.
It's all connected.
We've hopefully given you, the listener,
the knowledge to make your own decisions about gold.
Whether you're thinking about investing in gold,
buying a piece of jewelry,
or just fascinated by its history.
We hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective.
Remember, the quest for knowledge never ends.
Keep exploring.
Keep asking questions.
And keep digging deeper.
Until next time.
Happy exploring.